Firstly, hello and welcome everyone. My name is Julian Brockhurst and thank you for joining us this Thursday for another lunchtime session on today's topic, how to create smarter communities for all Queenslanders. So firstly, I'd like to introduce our guest for today, CEO of UDIA Queensland, Kirsty Chessher-Brown. Serving in the role since February 2018, Kirsty has extensive experience developing the Institute's policy, stakeholder engagement and research endeavours, as well as has consulted on a significant amount of the state and local government policy development. Prior to becoming CEO, Kirsty was responsible for the Institute's policy, research and sustainability business units. Joining the Institute in 2006, Kirsty has directly overseen the growth of the UDIA's EnviroDevelopment program and was instrumental in the establishment of the Research Foundation. She is passionate about driving change within the development industry to facilitate greener, smarter and more resilient communities, whether this has been through the advanced research methods or the development of effective policy. So welcome, Kirsty.
Thanks, Julian.
So I thought, what an amazing period we're in from a Queensland property development standpoint, like from Coolangatta to Cairns, the market just seems to be on fire. Also with the recent announcement of the Olympics. So I guess as the peak body for developers, it might be a good place to start with, what's your overview of the current market?
Well, it's safe to say, Julian, that our members are pretty busy at the moment from Cairns to Coolangatta, and that's been for a range of reasons, but certainly banking on and off the back of some of those really key stimulus measures that were put in place, particularly by the federal government during COVID last year. So Home Builder really has spurred and was the initial impetus for a lot of that activity, driving a lot of that activity across the state. What has perhaps surprised us is the level of demand post-stimulus, though. So obviously Home Builder finished in the first quarter of 2021. And our members are telling us that there's really still strong levels of demand right across the state, whether that be for a house and land package or a unit or a townhouse. It would seem that the property really is enjoying really strong and positive sentiment, and Queensland is the place to be as well. We've experienced really strong levels of interstate migration, so and it would seem that again COVID has been a real driver for that. So as part of our qualitative research, we have spoken to people in Sydney and Melbourne and asked them, what their next property move might be. And by and large, people were planning to move, particularly to southeast Queensland, let's say within the next 5 to 10 years. What we are seeing is they are bringing forward that decision to move to Queensland. So that decision to move in the next 5 years is turned into a decision to move to within the next 2. So we are seeing strong levels of interstate migration, and we would expect that to continue. We don't think it's a flash in the pan for just 12 months. We think that will continue. Now, that's, of course, really contingent on maintaining a really strong jobs market and employment opportunities across the state. But with some fairly significant infrastructure investment from the state government in combination with local and federal governments, we think that is sustainable. So that has been the missing piece for Queensland on and off over parts of the last decade. So we think if that employment market remains strong, the interstate migration piece will remain strong as well. And look, who wouldn't want to live in Queensland, Julia? It's tremendous weather and great lifestyle, and I think people have spent a little bit longer in their houses across the country over the past 18 months or so. And whether that's a change from the current property that they're living in or southeast Queensland at the moment, or whether it is an interstate move, property is on people's minds. So we are seeing it buck the trend and really buck our expectations. I think March last year, we were really concerned in the midst of the COVID crisis what may happen to the property market, acknowledging that in Queensland we are the third largest employer across the state, and real concerns about what might happen. But initially stimulus, and then, as I say, really strong levels of demand on a back of a range of things. A, initially stimulus, but B, also obviously incredibly low interest rates. So the market is doing really well. There are some challenges, though, that obviously come with a buoyant market, particularly in terms of getting access to products. And I think everyone's got a story, whether it's timber or steel or roof tiles. There are product supply shortages, and the industry is grappling with that. And we're also seeing some pain around getting trades to site as well. So few bumps along the road, but certainly in a great position, and we're really grateful that the property market has been able to survive some of those COVID challenges that we've experienced.
Yeah, absolutely, and couldn't agree with you more that Queensland is the place to be. Both tuning in today from Brisbane. So, I mean, you're really known to champion many research endeavours within the UDIA Queensland. Yeah, what are some of the current focus areas, and why is that?
I'll probably say, Julian, that our research program has gone from strength to strength since I got out of doing the daily operations of our research program. So I think, we've got a wonderful team led by Chelsea Van Reet internally, who really drives our research program. But what we are really interested in with our research foundation is trying to deliver products and insights that allow our members to make better business decisions. And CSQ, our research partner, has been an incredible support and incredible support in helping us to identify what those things might be as well. So, we're really lucky to have a great team and a great partner to be driving this. But really, at its fundamentals, our research program is really underpinned by our qualitative research program that is led by our industry leaders. Now, our industry leaders are made up of a group of developers, but also representatives from local and state government. And that's been really important. It's allowed us to sit in the same room, to scope and fund the research together, and then importantly to understand those insights that come from those focus groups direct from the community and understand what they mean for product that's being delivered on the ground, but also importantly the policy context and framework for that product. So that's been really important for us. We've done a lot of work trying to understand what community sentiment is towards different types of products and how the community would like to be involved in the consultation engagement process that wraps around property, which has been an important piece for us and has allowed us to give some additional guidance to both our members and government. We're all grappling with the pain points of a growing population and what that means, and how we smooth that journey from getting that product being delivered on ground within existing neighbourhoods where people have become used to the status quo. So that work's been incredibly important for us. I mentioned the interstate migration piece just before, which came out of that group. This year we've been looking at whether COVID might shift any consumer attitudes towards different product typologies, so whether people are more or less likely to move into an apartment. And once they get into that built form product, whether it is an apartment or a house or a townhouse, whether their needs have changed as a result of COVID, or whether in terms of their external environment, whether they're looking for more parks, more coffee shops, more medical centres, which again helps us to frame out how our community structure and neighbourhoods might change post-COVID. I like referring to post-COVID, Julian. I hope that we're close to being post-COVID. It might be a while away, but definitely a glass half full approach to that. And importantly, we've just finished some work, again, using the same group on understanding how we can better communicate the challenges of a growing population and accommodating a growing population a little bit more broadly to consumers and the community at a neighbourhood level. So doing a lot of work in that qualitative space. We've recently just launched a new product, which is our Urban Development Index, using our greenfield and land developer members to understand better the supply pipeline, who's buying, who's selling, what sort of lots are being produced. And we've also just recently released the results of a consumer sentiment survey, which has been undertaken with some of our UDIA colleagues in other states, again, to understand people's property purchasing decisions and whether they are looking to invest or not over the next couple of years. So lots on, but it is an incredibly important part of what we do at UDIA, and our members are an important part of that journey in guiding where we go with that research.
Yeah, I mean, so many different data points there that you mentioned, from government to, I guess, the private market. And I think you've answered my next question on how does the UDIA partner with or gather their own data to support these research projects. You mentioned CSQ as well, obviously a great partner there as well. But really covering the whole sort of broad spectrum. Is there anyone else or any other ways that people maybe that are sitting on a potential data set from a technology standpoint, or that have some insights? How do they get that information to you?
Oh, look, we're really keen to hear from anyone, Julian, and we obviously have we think we have a pretty deep understanding of our members' needs in that space, and really our ambit at the moment is really broad. We're really looking at anything that can provide our members with deeper level insights that they're not currently getting delivered to their inbox through any other forum, and it's about, again, as I say, trying to provide them with data and, importantly, insights that help them make better decisions and help them make those future plans based on a little bit more evidence and a little bit more data. So for us, like, we're really open and really flexible to considering, as you say, new data points. We're particularly excited by things like the census, and I think that probably reflects on how exciting a human I am, but I am excited by the census and seeing what we can do around that next year. So, yeah, we really are just driven towards trying to find people that we can partner with that really provide that deeper level of insight for our members.
Gotcha. So, I mean, with the goal of supporting better communities for all Queenslanders, your approach is really, I guess, looks like it's focused on three key pillars: greener, smarter, and more resilient. And obviously, this is very much in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the growing focus on ESG impacts and reporting. So how is your office going about achieving those three pillars?
Well, we set up a sustainability rating tool 15 years ago. It seems like yesterday, but it was 15 years ago at UDIA Queensland, and that's since become a national rating tool, and that's there for our members to help guide them towards some of those, as you say, lofty goals of being green, resilient, and smart. So what we are trying to do with EnviroDevelopment is provide our members with a platform to demystify what it is they do in really simple language to make their next development a bit greener and a bit more sustainable. So it's a really important program for us, and we see it as a bit of a capacity building program for the industry. It's obviously developed in consultation with our members, but it is owned by membership organisations. So we do rely on our members for their input and reality checks around the practicality of implementing some of these pieces. We're in close consultation again with government as they work their way through how they might lead the industry and the community towards some of these goals as well. So it's provided us with, as I say, a capacity building program, but also some additional knowledge and expertise to be able to understand how it is that we might help to guide, again, government with some of that research and data around, what does a sustainable building look like and what are the challenges with delivering that and what does that do to some of the city networks. So that's been an important thing for our members, and something that, as I say, has stood the test of time over the last 15 years. Standards have changed, consumer expectations have changed in terms of sustainability, and I know it's still probably early in the year to make this call, but I think EnviroDevelopment will have its most successful year in 2021 than it's ever had, and I think that starts to illustrate just how important those goals are to both our developer members, but increasingly how much consumers are seeking out a more sustainable house, a more sustainable unit, and relying on some of those credentials to be able to deliver that third-party verification for them. So I think the next step for us is really to continue to have that discussion with governments around the incentivisation of those initiatives. We've seen some great work from BCC, Brisbane City Council, and their Green Initiatives program, which we're really supportive of. So essentially an infrastructure rebate for those projects which are able to demonstrate that they've achieved the sustainability credentials that BCC desire. And we're really looking forward to having that conversation with other local governments, because incentives will be a key driver here. We know that at times there can be a higher upfront capital cost to put in place some of these initiatives, and that's where, to bring the rest of the market up, we're really going to need to talk about some incentives. But look, EnviroDevelopment has been something that UDIA Queensland is really passionate about and continues to believe in, and I think our members would agree that's an important initiative.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and as a timestamp just for today, the 12th of August, like the IPCC report released a few days ago, and just the sort of the media surrounding that. And obviously it's been an ongoing trend. This climate change trend has been going for a long, long while, but I think it's really on the radar of absolutely everybody at the moment, from policymakers to the private market. And it's probably going to be a bit of both. The private market doing their own bit I guess off their own back, and then policy really trying to drive some of those changes as well, for sure. But I really want to drill down on the smart pillar, and sort of the technology and digital tools that you've seen developers using, and have you seen anything that's just standing out that they're embracing recently?
I think, Julian, what it comes down to when I look at our members embracing digital tools, and I must say I have seen a greater uptake during COVID. I've seen our members look for those tools that offer greater efficiencies or help them overcome a challenge that COVID has presented us with. So, obviously not being able to get out and about sometimes, and the sheer success of things like Zoom and Teams, I think has increased significantly over those past 18 months. But we see things like COVID really accelerating our members' appetite for some of those tools that might be able to assist them. So, look, generally speaking, our members are pretty keen on looking at digital tools which offer them, as I say, some tangible efficiencies, or which give them, again, those added insights into consumer or market trends. So something that starts to give them that information that perhaps their competitors don't have access to. It's a competitive marketplace. And look, our members tend to run fairly lean machines in terms of their organisation. When I look across the UDIA membership statewide, very few of our members would have sort of in-house innovation teams, people that are there to research and drive innovation within their company. These people are managing everything from, the construction works happening on the ground to the DA for the next project. So they're really hands-on in terms of the physical rollout of each project, not necessarily able to dedicate long hours to putting in the research. So they're looking for technology that's been tried and tested by perhaps some of the others in their cohort, and they're looking for stuff that really will save them time. So anything that is able to meet those parameters, I think, as I say, we're seeing a really accelerated uptake at this point.
Yeah, I agree. And it's definitely those market leaders that, as you say, are there willing to trial. Maybe they've got a few more resources in the office, but are really sort of moving ahead and testing out different products at all different stages, construction management, feasibility side, or whatever it may be. And then I guess everyone else looking to those guys and saying, hey, if they're doing it, we can do it too. And enabling them to run much more lean, enabling them to maintain those greater insights. At the end of the day, just produce better products in a much more cost-efficient manner. So I think it's coming a long way, and it's going to continue to, I guess, accelerate, I would suspect, and being in this space with Aprao as well. So why do you think that innovation, though, and that constant search for improvement is so essential?
I think, as I said before, it's an incredibly competitive marketplace, and we see that through our Awards for Excellence program. So every 12 months, UDIA Queensland runs an Awards for Excellence, and we have 21 categories, and it is highly competitive. So I think we are lucky enough to have an industry that just tries to better themselves each project. And I would go so far to say that there's rarely that I come across any other industry that is driven towards, such a need to better their next product to the extent that they rolled out their previous one. So I think there is this drive towards better delivery, being better than their competitors. And that, when we look at the driver for that, really comes back to consumer demands and consumers' expectations. So I think we are an industry that is driven towards excellence, and excellence and innovation sit really closely together in my mind. So this is an industry of innovators. It's an industry of entrepreneurs, and that goes together with excellence, I think, and wanting to be better than their last project. So I think, we're all out there for a sale as well. So the need to be able to demonstrate that this project is better than the last project is incredibly important as well. So for me, it comes down to the drive towards innovation, comes down to a drive towards excellence. And I think that's only good news for buyers that are out there and the broader community as well. But it's certainly an industry that's driven towards delivering better communities.
Yeah, agreed. I think, as you say, that drive for innovation is simply, it's almost it's a need. It's something that needs to be there. It's not this thing that you do once and happy days for 5 years. It's this consistent looking to be better and it is unique I guess in the development industry that is almost on almost like a cyclical basis from project to project, as opposed to a different form or business model that might do that again every 5 years and think that that's all it takes. So it's unique, and
we see that a lot through our EnviroDevelopment program with developers coming to us and saying, well, I did this in the last project and that worked out really well, but I want to do better. So what's the new trend? What's the innovation? What are you seeing from around the country? How can I do better? And that tends to be the driver rather than cost, which I think is a really positive sign.
Yeah, absolutely. So just looking at the audience questions here, and there are none at the moment. So if you want to throw in a question there, as we are close to the end, but as we let them consider some questions, Kirsty, what are some of the best ways for today's audience to get in touch with you or UDIA Queensland?
I won't suggest mail in the spirit of this webinar, Julian. So I would say, look, best ways to get in touch, the UDIA website, so udiaqld.com.au, or of course LinkedIn. We'll also find myself and the team. So happy to chat about all things property through either of those, Julian.
Amazing. Looks like the audience is staying quiet. So thank you everyone for your time, and especially Kirsty for today. As we bring together more and more leaders from within the development ecosystem, please reach out to us directly if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss. And one question has come in right at the end from our friends at CSQ. Robert, what is the highest return opportunity for the tech solution in development is the question. What is the highest return opportunity for a tech solution in development? Any ideas there?
Oh, I think at the moment, Rob, it's anything in construction. So that seems to be, given the state of the market, anywhere that, again, can save you time or provide that additional level of reassurance seems to be where it's at, and very much in that construction pipeline. So that's where the hurt is with construction costs, and no one would know that better than Rob in terms of trade and skills as well. So I think anything that works in that construction pipeline, timing, and secondly, that feasibility space is obviously incredibly important. With ever shifting, particularly, whether it's planning scheme requirements, it's a hot market out there, and that means you're buying sites in a hot market as well. So any added level of intelligence at that feasibility stage is critically important as well. That's pretty critical for members at this stage.
Yeah, for me, and slightly biased, I would agree with the feasibility stage. Obviously, EnviroDevelopment is driving those insights and that data into those decisions, into those assumptions that are going to give you a more accurate feasibility, and doing that in the cloud. So for me, I'd say it's feasibility as well, getting it all right from the start before you even begin. I'd say is the biggest or highest return opportunity there. So thanks for that question, Rob. Snuck in there at the end, but I think that does round out today's webinar. So again, thank you very much everyone for joining, and until next time, take care.
Thanks, Julian.